President Hichilema gets no salary? Zambia's shocking truth revealed. In a surprising revelation, the Zambian government has confirmed that President Hakainde Hichilema has never received a single kwacha from the state as a salary since taking office. But why would the head of state work for free? Is this an act of patriotism or a political statement meant to send a message to his critics? Tonight, we break down the facts, reactions, and the bigger meaning behind this bold move by President HH. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. It's been quite a week here, hasn't it? The rains are picking up across the continent, schools are in full swing, and as always, the political theater never sleeps. But today we're diving into something that stopped me in my tracks when I first heard it. Something that challenges everything we think we know about presidential perks, political sacrifice, and the cost of leadership. President Hichilema gets no salary? Zambia's shocking truth revealed. Picture this: a man sits in State House, the most powerful office in Zambia. Every day, he wakes before dawn, reviews security briefings, meets diplomats, signs legislation that affects 19 million souls. He is the commander-in-chief, the face of the nation. The buck stops at his desk. And yet, his bank account? Allegedly untouched by a single government kwacha. Is this the ultimate political gesture? A billionaire businessman turned president, refusing taxpayer money to prove he serves for love of country, not personal gain? Or is this something else entirely, a carefully crafted image, a narrative designed to polish a political brand while the machinery of power grinds on behind palace walls? What does it mean when a president claims to work for free? Is it noble self-sacrifice or shrewd political theater? And more importantly, what does this say about the state of Zambia's economy that its leader feels compelled to make such a gesture? Is the country so broke, so burdened by debt, that even the president must forfeit his constitutional salary? Or is this a calculated move to shame his predecessors, to draw a stark line between the selfless servant and the corrupt elite? But here's the question that should keep every Zambian citizen awake at night: if the president isn't being paid through official channels, who is funding his lifestyle? How does a sitting head of state maintain the dignity and security of his office without official compensation? And perhaps most troubling of all, does working for free create a dangerous precedent, where only the wealthy can afford to lead, where governance becomes the exclusive playground of millionaires and billionaires? What happens to transparency when the money trail goes dark? What happens to accountability when sacrifice becomes spectacle? Factual foundation. The revelation came to light during what should have been a routine press engagement in late 2023. The whispers had been circulating in Lusaka's political circles for months before. President Hakainde Hichilema, commonly known as HH, swept to power in August 2021 after a bitterly contested election. His victory ended the rule of Edgar Lungu and the Patriotic Front, marking Zambia's third peaceful transfer of power since the return of multi-party democracy. Hichilema, a wealthy economist and businessman with an estimated net worth running into millions of dollars from his cattle ranching and financial consultancy businesses, campaigned on a platform of economic recovery and anti-corruption. But it was in October 2023, during a youth engagement forum at Mulungushi International Conference Center, that the president made an offhand comment that would explode across social media and news outlets within hours. A university student had asked about austerity measures and government belt-tightening. In his response, President Hichilema casually mentioned that he had not taken a salary since assuming office, adding that the funds were being redirected toward youth empowerment programs. The statement was initially buried in a longer speech about economic reform. But by evening, clips had been shared thousands of times. Opposition members demanded clarification. Journalists scrambled for confirmation from State House. Civil society organizations called for transparency. Within 48 hours, the office of the president issued a brief statement confirming that President Hichilema had indeed declined his official salary since taking office in August 2021. The statement indicated that the funds, constitutionally allocated at approximately 1.2 million Zambian kwacha per annum, plus allowances, were being channeled into a special fund for youth skills training and entrepreneurship. But the questions didn't stop. They multiplied. By November 2023, Parliament's Budget Committee had requested detailed documentation showing exactly where these funds were going. Opposition MPs from the Patriotic Front accused the administration of cheap publicity stunts designed to mask economic failures. The Socialist Party questioned whether a president could legally decline constitutionally mandated compensation. And ordinary Zambians, struggling with inflation rates hovering around 10% and fuel prices that had nearly doubled, wondered what this symbolic gesture actually meant for their daily lives. The timeline was clear: August 2021, assumption of office. October 2023, public revelation. November 2023, mounting scrutiny. But the deeper story, the why, the how, the implications, remained shrouded in political rhetoric and institutional opacity. Direct evidence. Let's hear it directly from the principals involved. Here's President Hichilema speaking at that October 2023 Youth Forum, captured on video. President Hichilema, young people, when we talk about sacrifice, when we talk about leadership that is genuine, it's not just words. It's not just nice speeches at rallies. So, let me share something with you that we haven't really publicized because, we don't do things for publicity. Since we came into office August 2021, I have not taken a salary. Not a single kwacha. Because I asked myself, what is more important? That I get paid, or that we use that money to train young people like you? Applause from audience. President Hichilema, now, don't clap for me. I don't need applause. I need you to understand the principle. Leadership is service. And service sometimes means you give up what you're entitled to for the greater good. So where does that money go? Every kwacha that would have been my salary goes into youth programs, skills training, small business grants. Because you are the future. Not me. I'm just here temporarily. The response from opposition leader Edgar Lungu, in a statement released through his media team 3 days later, was pointed. Edgar Lungu, via written statement: this is the height of political deception. President Hichilema wants Zambians to believe he is some kind of saint working for free while the economy collapses around us. Let me ask, if he is not taking a salary, who is paying for his trips abroad? Who is funding his extensive motorcades? Who is maintaining State House? The presidency doesn't run on air. It runs on taxpayer money. So whether he takes a direct salary or not is irrelevant if the entire apparatus of his office is still draining the treasury. In Parliament, during a heated Budget Committee session in mid-November 2023, opposition MP Brian Mundable pressed Finance Minister Sidam Biko Muzokatwain for clarity. MP Mundable, Honourable Minister, we need transparency. The president claims he's not taking a salary. Fine. Show us the documentation. Show us exactly where these funds are going. Because right now, all we have is the president's word. Minister Muzokatwain. Honorable member, I can confirm that, the president has indeed declined his salary. The funds are being managed through the Ministry of Youth and Sport. There's a special account that was set up for this purpose. MP Mundable, a special account? Minister, that's not good enough. We need audit trails. We need beneficiary lists. Who has received this money? How is it being dispersed? Is this even legal under our constitution? Minister Muzokatwain. The legality has been reviewed by the Attorney General's office. The president has the discretion to redirect his entitlements for public benefit. As for the details, we will provide them to this committee in due course. That due course has, as of December 2024, yet to materialize with full documentation. Meanwhile, civil society leader Laura Mitty of the Alliance for Community Action offered this assessment in a television interview. Laura Mitty. Look, I appreciate symbolic gestures. I really do. But Zambia doesn't need symbols right now. We need substance. If President Hichilema wants to forego his salary, that's his choice. But let's be clear, 1.2 million kwacha a year? That's roughly $60,000 US. In the context of Zambia's national budget, which runs into billions, this is a drop in the ocean. So what are we really talking about here? This is politics. It's optics. And while I don't think it's malicious, I do think it's a distraction from the hard policy questions we should be asking. Deeper analysis. So let's unpack what this really means, because the implications stretch far beyond one man's paycheck. First, there's the legal question. Zambia's constitution does indeed provide for presidential compensation. Article 89 specifies that the president shall receive such salary and benefits as determined by Parliament. The Employment Act requires that salary must be paid for work performed. So can a president simply decline? The Attorney General's interpretation appears to be yes, that constitutional entitlements can be voluntarily redirected for public benefit, but constitutional lawyers remain divided. Professor Munendulo of Cornell University, a Zambian legal scholar, noted in an academic paper that such arrangements create gray zones of accountability. If the salary never enters the president's personal accounts, if it flows through special funds with unclear oversight, then traditional financial disclosure mechanisms don't apply. The president can claim he's not receiving compensation, while potentially benefiting from state resources through other channels: travel, accommodation, security, all classified and hidden from public scrutiny. Then there's the political dimension. President Hichilema's supporters see this as principled leadership, a refreshing break from the perceived corruption of previous administrations. Under Edgar Lungu, Zambia's debt ballooned to unsustainable levels, with allegations of inflated contracts and suspicious transactions. In that context, a president who refuses his salary sends a powerful message: I'm different. I'm here to serve, not to enrich myself. But critics see something more cynical. They point out that Hichilema is already wealthy. For him, $60,000 a year is pocket change. He doesn't need the salary, so declining it costs him nothing while earning him massive political capital. Meanwhile, ordinary civil servants, teachers, nurses, police officers go months without pay due to government cash flow problems. The symbolism rings hollow when juxtaposed against that reality. Political analyst Sishiwa wrote in a column for the Masked newspaper. Hichilema's gesture would be more meaningful if it were accompanied by structural reforms to presidential compensation across the board. What about reducing the bloated budget for state house functions? What about cutting back on foreign trips that cost millions? Instead, we get theater: a wealthy man declining a salary he doesn't need, while the system he presides over remains unreformed. And then there's the dangerous precedent this sets. If only the independently wealthy can afford to be president because they can decline state compensation and still maintain their lifestyle, then we're entrenching plutocracy. Leadership becomes the domain of millionaires. The average Zambian, no matter how talented or visionary, is effectively barred from the highest office because they can't afford to work for free. International examples are mixed. Donald Trump famously donated his presidential salary in the United States, but his wealth and business dealings raised separate ethics concerns. Kenya's Uhuru Kenyatta, from a wealthy family, took his salary but faced criticism for his family's vast land holdings. The question isn't whether leaders should be paid, it's whether the payment structures create accountability or undermine it. Meanwhile, the substantive policy questions remain unanswered. Where exactly is Hichilema's foregone salary going? The Ministry of Youth and Sport has not published detailed reports. Which youth have benefited? What programs have been funded? These aren't just technical questions, they're fundamental to evaluating whether this gesture has actual impact or is merely symbolic. Some youth groups have come forward claiming they received grants from the presidential fund. A vocational training center in Kabwe, for instance, reported receiving 50,000 kwacha for equipment. A group of young entrepreneurs in Ndola spoke of receiving seed capital. But comprehensive data remains elusive. And here's perhaps the most uncomfortable truth: state resources are fungible. Even if the president doesn't take a direct salary, the lifestyle of the presidency continues. The jets, the motorcades, the state house renovations, all funded by taxpayers. In 2023, State House reportedly spent over 200 million kwacha on operations and maintenance. The presidential jet, a Gulfstream acquired under previous administrations, costs millions annually to operate. So the question becomes, what's the point of declining a 1.2 million kwacha salary when the institutional costs dwarf it by orders of magnitude? This is where symbolism and substance collide. And it's where citizens must decide what they value more, the gesture or the governance. Well, viewers, there you have it. The shocking, complicated, and frankly messy truth about President Hakainde Hichilema's decision to forego his salary. Is it genuine sacrifice or political theater? Is it meaningful reform or symbolic distraction? The answer, as with most things in politics, probably lies somewhere in the complex middle ground. What's undeniable is this: Zambia faces real challenges. Debt restructuring, inflation, energy crises, youth unemployment hovering around 25%. These problems won't be solved by symbolic gestures alone. They require hard policy choices, institutional reforms, and transparent governance. Whether the president takes a salary or not, the work remains the same. The accountability must remain the same. Thank you so much for watching today's edition of InspirAfrica Official. I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think President Hichilema's decision is admirable or just political optics? Should leaders be allowed to decline their salaries, or does it create more problems than it solves? And what would you rather see, symbolic gestures or substantive reforms? We'll be back tomorrow with more stories that matter, more truths that challenge, and more conversations that inspire. Until then, take care of yourselves, stay informed, and remember, the future of Africa is being written today, by all of us. This is Nakash, signing off. See you next time.